All right, so picture this. A civilization thousands of years old, spread across what's now Pakistan, India, parts of Afghanistan.
Wow.
We are talking about the Indus Valley Civilization.
Fascinating.
And it wasn't just big, it was incredibly advanced.
Yes.
I mean, urban planning, that put some modern cities to shame.
It's true.
The world's first urban sanitation systems thousands of years ago.
It is remarkable this Bronze Age civilization, flourishing from around 3300 to 1300 BCE,
Wow.
relied heavily on the Indus River system, which is why we call it the Indus Valley Civilization.
So how did this ancient civilization come to light in the modern world?
Well, it's quite a story.
Yeah.
It started with Charles Messon,
Okay.
a former East India Company soldier who just happened to stumble upon the ruins of Harappa in 1829.
Wow.
He was blown away by the sheer scale and documented what he saw, recognizing its significance.
Not everyone saw the historical value, though, right?
That's true.
In the mid-1850s, Harappa's bricks were actually taken to be used in railway construction. Such a stark reminder of how easily history can be lost.
A tragic loss for sure. But thankfully, during the 1920s, archaeologists, intrigued by seals and artifacts, realized they had stumbled upon something truly remarkable.
Yeah.
This wasn't just any collection of ruins. This was a civilization as old as Egypt and Mesopotamia.
And then there are the cities themselves. The urban planning of places like Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, and Rakhigarhi is absolutely incredible.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking grid layouts, sophisticated drainage, water supply systems, all features of these ancient cities.
What's fascinating is that every house, regardless of size, had access to these amenities.
Really?
This level of urban planning during the Bronze Age, it's truly impressive.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about their governance and social structure. How did they achieve such organized complexity?
Especially since they didn't seem to have grand palaces or temples that we often see in other ancient civilizations.
It's true.
It really challenges our assumptions about how power and authority were structured in the ancient world.
Absolutely. Speaking of challenging assumptions, we can't forget the mystery of the Indus script.
Oh, yes.
Imagine the secrets we could uncover if we could finally decipher it.
I know, it's like having a treasure chest full of stories and knowledge, but not having the key to open it.
Right.
We see this script on these beautiful artifacts, these intricate seals, often depicting animals, and what some believe might even be gods.
The craftsmanship and artistry are truly exceptional.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about their skills and aesthetic sensibilities.
For sure.
The fact that we still can't fully understand their writing system only adds to the allure of this civilization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really does.
And then there's the question of what happened to them. The Indus Valley Civilization didn't just disappear overnight, it experienced a gradual decline.
Yeah.
What factors might have led to that?
Well, it seems that around 1900 BCE, things started to shift. By 1700 BCE, many of their cities were abandoned. One theory is climate change. A civilization so dependent on agriculture would have been vulnerable to shifts in weather patterns.
Precisely. Imagine a society that relies on predictable monsoons and seasonal floods to nourish their crops. If those patterns change, the consequences can be devastating. There's evidence that the monsoon patterns became less reliable.
Oh, wow.
And the Ghaggar-Hakra River system, once a major water source, began to dry up.
That would certainly put a strain on their resources and way of life. I've also read about the theory of the Indus River itself changing its course.
Right.
Potentially disrupting settlements and trade routes.
That's another piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
The Indus River was the lifeblood of this civilization, so any significant change in its flow would have had a ripple effect.
So we have a combination of possible environmental factors that could have put immense pressure on the Indus Valley Civilization. But did they just pack up and leave? It's not like their culture vanished entirely?
That's a great point. The decline of the Indus Valley Civilization wasn't a sudden collapse. It was a process of adaptation and transformation. Their story doesn't simply end, it evolves.
So it continues.
It continues.
For example, we see the emergence of cremation during the late Harappan period.
Yes.
A practice that became central to Hinduism.
A fascinating example of cultural continuity. While the major cities declined, elements of their culture persisted and were woven into later Indian traditions. It suggests a more complex story than a simple rise and fall.
It also makes you think about the interconnectedness of the ancient world. Could changes in trade relationships with civilizations like Mesopotamia and Egypt have played a role? Those networks were more than just economic lifelines. They were conduits for knowledge and cultural exchange.
Absolutely. Disruptions in those networks could have had a cascading effect, further destabilizing an already vulnerable situation. But even as the larger cities declined, smaller settlements continued to thrive. Places like Perak, for example, flourished for centuries after the major urban centers were abandoned.
So it's not a simple story of disappearance, but a more nuanced story of adaptation migration and the enduring influence of the Indus Valley Civilization on later cultures. It's like a puzzle where we keep finding new pieces and connections.
And speaking of puzzles, one of the most enduring mysteries is the question of the Aryan migration theory.
Oh yes. The theory put forward by Mortimer Wheeler suggesting that an Indo-European tribe, the Aryans, invaded and caused the collapse of the Indus Valley Civilization.
It's a theory that's been largely debunked. There's simply no archaeological evidence to support a mass invasion or violent takeover. For instance, the skeletal remains, Wheeler cited as evidence of warfare, actually turned out to be from a much later period.
So much for dramatic invasion scenario.
It seems the decline was a more complex process, but the debate over the influence of the Aryans and how their arrival interacted with existing Indus Valley populations and cultural practices is still a fascinating area of research.
Especially with all the advancements in genetics and archaeology. Who knows what future discoveries might reveal about this period of transition and cultural exchange?
We've learned so much about the Indus Valley Civilization already, but there are still so many unanswered questions, especially when it comes to understanding their belief system.
Their art and symbolism offer tantalizing clues, don't they? What are some of the artifacts that you find particularly intriguing?
Well, one that stands out is the Pashupati seal. This seal depicts a figure often interpreted as a deity seated in a cross-legged posture and surrounded by animals.
I've seen images of that one. It's fascinating and a bit mysterious, too. There are so many different interpretations of who that figure might represent.
Exactly. Some scholars see it as a prototype of the Hindu god Shiva, connecting it to later Hindu traditions. Others interpret it as a yogi or even a figure from Jainism. The seal sparks debate and encourages further research into the connections between the Indus Valley Civilization and later South Asian religions and philosophies.
It's a tangible link to their spiritual worldview, even if we can't fully grasp its meaning yet.
And then there's the swastika symbol. It's found on numerous artifacts from this period.
The swastika. That's a symbol that has taken on a very different meaning in modern times. What did it signify in the context of the Indus Valley Civilization?
In this context, it's believed to have represented good luck, prosperity, and possibly the cycle of life and rebirth. It's a reminder that symbols can evolve and change meaning over time, and we have to be careful not to view the past solely through our own modern lens.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to project our own interpretations onto the past, but it's important to try to understand these symbols within their original cultural context. It's part of the challenge and the excitement of studying ancient civilizations. It's amazing how much we've uncovered about the Indus Valley Civilization, considering it was completely unknown to the modern world for centuries. It really highlights the importance of archaeology and ongoing research.
It really does. It's a testament to human curiosity and our desire to understand our past.
Yeah.
And what a past it is. We started by discussing a civilization known for its sophisticated urban planning, and now we're exploring climate change, migration patterns, cultural continuity, and the mysteries of their beliefs.
It is incredible to think that we're piecing together a picture of daily life from thousands of years ago, from their homes and cities to their art, and possibly even glimpses of their spiritual beliefs. And yet, despite all that we've learned, so many questions remain.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? The Indus Valley Civilization continues to challenge us to think differently about the past and to keep exploring. There are still so many avenues for research, especially with new technologies and interdisciplinary approaches.
Yeah, the undeciphered Indus script is like this giant locked door, and behind it could be a wealth of knowledge about their language, their thoughts, their history. Imagine what we might learn if we could finally unlock those secrets.
It's a tantalizing thought. Maybe one day we'll be able to read their texts and hear their voices speaking to us directly across the millennia. Until then, the Indus Valley Civilization remains a source of wonder and inspiration, a testament to human ingenuity and the enduring power of culture.
It's a civilization that encourages us to keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep marveling at the incredible richness and complexity of our shared human history.
It really is. And who knows, maybe in seeking to understand the past, we might even gain valuable insights into our present and future.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the Indus Valley Civilization. It's been a fascinating exploration, and we hope you'll continue to learn and discover more about this amazing ancient culture.